Hey, beautiful friends. Call here, your beady hostess with the mostest for today's journey. And my friends, today we have a pretty cool project. We are going to be making a double-stranded necklace featuring beads and components from the September Gemstone Orphanage bead box, which was our Kumbaba Jasper box, which was absolutely fabulous. But this necklace, we are going to be featuring those 3-to-1 components. We're going to be featuring that gorgeous Coriana chain, some of those beautiful gemstone chips, and it's going to be fun and fabulous. And, it's going to be great. So if that sounds like fun to you, then come on and hang out with me and let's make some jewelry. Okay, my friends. Hello, and welcome in. Today we're going to be, like I said, we're going to be putting together a double-stranded necklace. And let me bring in the components, guys. I'm sure you all have gotten your boxes by now. And I have seen all of the amazing jewelry in the Facebook group, guys. Please don't ever stop posting in there. We enjoy seeing your projects so much, and I personally enjoy seeing your inspiration and all of your creativity, and you guys just consistently blow me away. But absolutely phenomenal. So you guys have been playing with this box. I've seen it. But today, maybe you have some leftover things that you can make this the way I put it together. But guys, if you don't have any of these components left over, you can certainly put this together with things in your stash. Okay. It's super stash friendly. So let me go over the list of the ingredients today, and it's going to be, there's several things going on here, but we're going to try to condense it and make it easy to understand. So we're going to be putting together 2 tiers. So you're going to need 2 pieces of this Coriana chain, or I believe Miss Debbie called it Cordano chain. I believe it's the same thing, just different trade names. You're going to need 2 pieces of this. Now, for the one, I use 18 inches, and then for the other one, we're going to use 22 inches of this chain. You guys can use you can adjust it however you want. If you want a little bit shorter, you use a little bit less. You want a little longer, then you'll use a little more. Completely up to you. You are the artist of your journey. I'm just here to inspire you a little bit, hopefully. You are also going to need these 2 connectors. These are those 3-to-1 connectors. You're going to need both of those. You're going to need 4 of these clamshell tips. You're going to need 3 eye pins. You're going to need several head pins. You're going to need several crimps as well. We'll go over that. I believe 8 altogether. You're going to need your magnetic clasp. And as far as the head pins go, I say several because, again, this part is going to be completely up to you. You don't have to make this is going to be a tassel cluster portion. And you guys don't have to make yours as full as mine, or you can make yours longer or fuller. So you'll go, when you decide what your pattern is, then you'll know how many head pins you need. And so that's what you're going to need for that. You are also going to need crimps, which Miss Debbie was so gracious to provide us with. You're going to need some of these jump rings too. You are going to need beadwise. I'm using these chips, guys. However many you use is going to be completely up to you. As you can see, I already have done this portion, and I will tell you the reason for that in a second. And you're also going to need these rondelles. Now, again, depending on what you want your cluster to be, you can kind of gauge how many you're going to need for that. But for this portion, we are going to be connecting these 2 connectors here with some of these rondelles. So for that portion, you're going to need 9 of the smaller rondelles. I can't see because my lights are so bright. So it's hard for me to see my phone. So hopefully we're on here. But you're going to need 9 of those for this portion. Again, though, if you don't want quite such a longer piece, then you could do 2, right? So then you would need 2, 4, 6. If you wanted to do a little bit longer, again, you would add more. So completely customizable to what you want to do. But yeah, I think that's mostly it. We also are going to have some of these rondelles for this portion as well. I believe I have 2 of the bigger ones and 2 of the smaller ones. And I think that's pretty much it. Of course, you're going to need some crimps. We already went over crimps. Okay, great. So if I haven't gone over anything, I'm sure you'll see it. So tools. Now, guys, don't be afraid. There's a few tools involved here, but it's your standard tools, my friends. Your standard tools. So we have your standard chain nose pliers and your bent chain nose pliers and your round nose pliers. You're also going to need a cutter. And also, if you have one of these wire straighteners for your head pins and eye pins, that's great. It's not necessary, but I'm also going to be using both of these crimping pliers, guys, because I know some of you only might have this crimping plier and some of you only might have this crimping plier. So I'm going to show you how to use them both, just in case, you want to use either or. This way you'll know how to do both. So we're going to do that. You're also going to need a ruler, is always good, so you can measure your chain. And I think as far as tools, that is it. I believe that is it. Okay. So let's get into this project, my friends. Let's get into this project. So the reason why this is kind of already together is because I did not have enough leftover chain to make a whole nother 18-inch length. And Miss Debbie is always telling me if I need supplies to let her know, but I didn't want to bother her. So I figured I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to do this anyway, because I'm just going to add some to the side and then it'll just make my bottom portion a little bit fuller. And then this way you guys will see how exactly I did this. Because if I took this apart, if I cut this, I would have not had enough chain to remake that. So that is why that's like that. And then this will be our bottom portion, guys. We were making, like I said, this is going to be a double strand necklace. We are going to be using this connector, and we're not going to be using the middle hole. We're going to be using the top connector, and we're going to be using the bottom connector. The middle connector, we are not going to connect anything to. However, if you wanted to make this 3 strands, you certainly could, because that will allow you to add a 3rd strand. And guys, you could do so many things with a 3rd strand. You could do a 3rd strand of beaded chain. You could do a 3rd strand of regular link chain and maybe connect a few little drops onto the links. There's so much you could do with this chain. I mean, with this class, because you do have multiple connections there. So that, again, the sky is the limit, my friends. The sky is the limit. Okay, so let's work on, this is going to be the upper portion of our necklace. So this is going to be the shorter portion. Like I said, I already had done this, but we're going to do some more so I can show you how I did this. Now for this guy, we're going to be using the magical crimping pliers. Let me just get those out. We're going to be using the magical crimping pliers because I'm going to show you guys how you make these crimps into little balls. So this way you don't have to worry about covering that up with a clamshell or anything like that, because it's just a little ball. So it looks just like a little bead, and it is keeping your beads in place, right? Your beads are not going anywhere. They're crimped in there. And it's almost kind of like an illusion, right? Because you don't, people would think that's a bead. They'd be like, oh my goodness, it's like magic. How are all those beads staying in place? And then you can just say, because I am magic, and that's why. I mean, I'm not gonna say any different, because I do think you are magic. I think you are. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of these chips, and I'm just going to pull out. What I like to do is I like to pull out similar sizes. And then this way, everything is even Stevens. So if you pull out similar sizes, I don't so much care about the color, but those are kind of similar sizes, but that drill hole's a little off to the side. So I don't really know if I want to use that there. Let's use this one. When I say sizes, there are different sizes, but they're similar thickness, right? You want to get something that is similar thickness, so then your symmetry will be, it'll match. So we'll put those there, and then we'll just we'll grab this one, put this one over here. Let's grab a similar size. And I'm a little picky, so this might take a minute. We'll put a little green over here, right? Let's do a little green over here. Those are pretty. Let's see if we can get some of this pink in here. I've used most of the pinky ones, but I think I still have a couple that do have a little bit of pink in them, right? So we're just figuring out just a little pattern. You don't have to be precise. We're just picking out beads that are the same kind of in width, so they sit nice. And let's just do 2 more, right? Let's just do some those are going to be on the ends. Let's see. Okay, kind of like that. So let's start with this side. And let's put some of these on. And you can, of course, change your mind. And guys, these go right onto this chain effortlessly. Just beautifully. The holes are perfect size for this chain. They're not too big, not too small. They're just right. And if I seem a little rusty, guys, the last time I did any jewelry was a week ago today. So I have not done any jewelry in a while, so I might be a little rusty. This is me back in the saddle after taking a week respite. So I hope y'all didn't miss me too much. But yeah. So when I was designing this necklace, I don't know. I just kind of kept getting like, what was it? The Orient Express. I kept getting like these Orient Express vibes. Sorry. I don't know why. I don't know. This one's a little sharp. This one has, sometimes if they are a little pointy and if they're maybe a little sharp, I would say just move it on. Move on to the next guy. And that one might be too thick. But we'll see. We'll compare it next to each other. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of felt very like, I don't really like that placement. I kind of felt very like, I don't know, like it was very Orient Express kind of. And guys, you don't always have to put them in the same placement. Just, I picked them out together. So then they're like kind of going to be the same thickness, but you can put them together, you know, randomly, however they look better. But I just like to make sure they're going to be about the same size. But yeah, so I don't know, because it's kind of like, I don't know, the Orient Express is kind of like mysterious, I guess because Agatha Christie wrote those books that made it mysterious. But I don't know, I just felt like with the green and just how it sparkles and the gunmetal's kind of mysterious. I don't know, it made me feel like a spy novel, like on the Orient Express. Like, I don't know, I just went somewhere with it. And this is what I came up with. You guys ever do that? Like, do you just get this weird inspiration and you're really not sure why it inspired that in you, but you just go with it anyway? I mean, you have to, you know, you have to go with it. Just keep making jewelry, you know, and just whenever you feel inspired, then you just sit down and make jewelry and you probably will come up with an amazing design. Right, so this guy, I'm not sure because I feel like he's just a little too bulky. So I'm trying to find something that has some girth to it. That's a word. That I don't like hearing because especially when it's in reference to myself. Anywho's, let's see. And like you can also, like, if maybe this one is not as thick as this, you can add 2 beads. That will be the same thickness. But we're just going to do that for now. And see if we like this placement. It's not bad. I think I'm going to do one more bead over here. I'm going to do a smaller one to kind of cap it off. Because I'm weird that way. Because that last one's kind of an odd shape. So, I don't know. Let's see. Let's hold it up and see if we like it now. I think that's a little better. I kind of like that. So we are going to put on this crystal. And these crystals fit on here like a dream. And we're going to do our first crimp. So I'm just going to take out, I probably should have gotten these out sooner. But we're just going to go ahead and get one of these crimps. Now I am using the Soft Flex crimps here. I am going to use these. Because I'm not sure if the crimps, what size exactly the crimp tubes are that Miss Debbie put in the box. And I don't know if they will work with my magical crimping pliers. But if you have the 2x2 crimps, that's the 2x2s are what you need for the magical crimping pliers. Okay, so you're going to put your crimp on. You're going to bring it down here. And then we're going to take our magical crimping pliers, which are these guys. Now, if you see these guys have a little circular indentation there, and that is where you are going to want to rest your crimp in there. And you're going to want to make sure that, let me just kind of pull this crimp out a little bit. You're just going to want to make sure that it is seated in there. My hands are not working. Okay. You want to make sure that it is seated in there so it is not sticking out anywhere in the pliers. And then you can just bring it on down here to the bottom again and just put all this stuff together. Make sure we are crimping. Okay. Sticking that in that concavity. Again, making sure that there's no metal sticking out. Because if you have metal sticking out, guys, you're not going to get a circular. I was going to say ravioli and then circle at the same time. So I think I was going to say servioli, but that's not what you want. You want a ravioli pattern, and that wasn't the best. So I'm not going to show you that. I'll show it to you on the other side. But I am going to save it because I can save it because I'm a master magical crimper. Okay, I can save those. That's awful. I don't know if I can save that one. But I'm not starting over again because this is already like my 9th take right now. So we're going to pretend that this is a perfect ball. Again, I've been off for a week. I've been on a hiatus. Okay. So you'll have something like that, but hopefully yours is a lot nicer. We'll get better on the other side. This is just for educational purposes. All right, so let's go over here and let's start stringing our beautiful beads over here. I'm going to start with this one. And sometimes you'll grab a bead and you think it's the perfect size and it'll have like it'll be drilled off to this one side or something and it won't stack nice with another one. So just look at them as you're putting them on and see how they look together. And just make sure you do all that before you crimp, because once you crimp, you're pretty much locking yourself in. You know, that's it. I don't know how you would come back from a crimp on this chain. I'm sure there's probably ways that you could. I don't know if I'm going to love this bead because it is a really odd shape. I mean, it kind of matches this one over here. I don't know. I really love that little pop of light green, though. That's really pretty. Maybe if I put it next to this bigger one, it won't look so out of place. See, I'm very particular. Like, I'm so particular. I wish that I wasn't. Do I love that? It's okay. It's okay. I think I'm going to go with something else. Let's try this guy. All right. Now let's see. That's not so bad, but see how this side is just a little bit longer? I don't love when the chain is showing, but I think that's going to be okay. This side's just a little bit longer, so I'm going to put at least one more chip on this side, maybe two. That one's kind of a thin, so I might put another smaller one on. That one's kind of like a triangle. I don't have anything against triangles, but it just didn't look right there. I'm a triangle lover just like the rest of us, but okay. And I think that's a little better. I think it's this one here I'm not in love with. But but also at the same time, I do still want it to look organic, you know? So I think I'm going to leave that. I think I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and put this rondelle on this side. Sorry, that's my cat behind my chair. If you're hearing a bunch of noise. My cat. Okay. It's going to put another one of these magical crimp tubes on there. And we'll slide that guy down. Okay. We're going to take our crimping plier. We're making sure that that is seated nicely. And it is up against, the tool is up against that bead. And we're going to crimp and we're going to pray for a ravioli. And that was perfect. That was perfect. See how it's a little boxy square? So then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your ravioli and you're going to turn it on its side. And you're going to crimp it again. And then you're just going to kind of put it in there and just crimp it in different areas. Spinning you can spin the wire, you can spin the tool, you can spin whatever you want to spin. This is your show, my friend. Spin it away. All right. And see how we have that nice little ball? Okay. So we are done with that layer. And guys, how easy was that? It's literally just crimping and putting and stringing on beads. We're not done. We do have to finish the top, guys. I guess we'll finish the top now. I thought maybe we'd finish the tops at the end, but let me move all these crimps out of my way. They just went all over my desk. That's going to be fun to clean up in a minute. All right. Let me also bring this in. Crimps are just a rolling, my friends. All right. So let's finish this. So to finish this, we are going to be using, oh my God, there they go. Just give me 1 second. Okay, friends, I'm sorry. It's these soft flex tubes, they're just too expensive to be rolling around on my desk like they got somewhere to go. I'm not doing it. All right, so let's pull out. These are the crimps that Miss Debbie put in the box. We're going to use these because these are actually crimp beads. And I think the crimp beads will fit into these clamshells a little bit better, but the crimp tubes do fit in there. But we're going to use the crimp beads. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this clamshell, which is this funny looking dude, and we're going to put him on backwards, kind of, I guess. We're going to put him on with that V. So then the cup shape is cupping, because the cup shape is going to come up and it's going to cup that crimp once we make it. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to put the crimp tube on there. Hopefully my big fat fingers will allow this to happen. Okay. So there is your crimp tube, crimp bead rather, right there. So now this is where we are going to take our standard crimping pliers that are underneath everything right now. Our standard crimping pliers. And we're going to see how this crimping plier has 2 notches there. There's that little back notch that kind of looks like a macaroni. And then there's that front notch, which kind of looks like a pistachio. I don't know. But we're going to be using that back notch first, which is that macaroni notch. And that is going to make our crimp. And you will just crimp, like, even if you were just crimping, you know, a bead stringing wire or whatever, you just crimp like you normally would. I don't use these crimping pliers much. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this little bead in there. And then I'm going to pull my chain up a little bit. Once I have that seated, I'm going to pull my chain up here to the top. You don't want much chain sticking out there. I don't like to waste too much. And then you're going to chomp down on your crimpers. And they're just going to go ahead and make this little crimp. And then you're going to take it to the side and put it in that second notch that kind of looks like a pistachio. And you're going to just crimp that down. I think you probably have to do both sides. So just like you would be using it in a regular, in a, you know, bead string wire or something like that. You can, if you have a little bit of wire coming out of that, you can certainly trim that little bit of wire off. That's not enough wire to bother me. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull the cup up. See how it just cups that little crimp? And you're just going to squeeze that together. Okay. You're going to squeeze that together and then you're going to have those 2 loops. And those 2 loops are where you're going to connect the jump ring that's going to connect to the clasp. Okay. So let's do that with the other side. We're going to put our clamshell on first. We're putting it with that V side on first. So the open side is on. We're putting the closed side on. And then that open side is there, getting ready to cup the crimp. Right? Getting ready to cup the crimp. Or hug it. It wants to hug the crimp. They're best friends and let them hug each other. That's what they do. All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our standard pliers. And we're going to find that little guy, that little crimpy guy. Sometimes he's hard to find because he's little. Oh my goodness. Okay, get in there. Okay. Get him in there. We're going to pull him all the way up here. I'm just pulling the chain. I'm not pulling the tool. I'm just pulling the chain up until about right there. You just want a little bit sticking out and we're going to crimp down. And then we're going to take it side on the side and we're going to crimp down again. Okay. And again, not much of a chain there, not much of a little stub there. So we're just going to go ahead and leave that, pulling that up the chain and then closing it. Okay. So this chain will be ready. We'll just have to put some jump rings and we'll be good. All right. So let's work on this guy. So let's put our chippies away. We're done with our chips. Thank you for your service. Beautiful chips. Okay. So here's the fun part. That was the easy part. Here's the more difficult part. It's really not that difficult. Don't be scared. We'll get through this together. All right, so I've already kind of started my little cluster on the bottom here. Now, guys, you can do this one of two ways or however many ways you want. And I already did put my jump ring on the top part. You want a jump ring on the top part. You can put together this part and then start your cluster, or you can do your cluster, and then when you're done your cluster, you can connect the two. That is what we're going to do in this exercise. But again, my friends, please feel free to make it however you are comfortable. Okay, so we're going to put the eye pins to the side because they are for that part. And we are going to do our cluster. Now, like I said, you can make your cluster however thick, however, whatever you want. I'm going to do a double cluster. So I'm going to take a bigger rondelle and I'm going to put a smaller rondelle. So it's going to be, the bigger rondelle is going to be in the inside and then the smaller rondelle is going to be on the outside. So it's going to be like a double cluster. And that's what we're going to do. So it's going to be nice and fluffy. Nice and fluffy, just like me. You knew I was going to say it. You knew I was. Can't take me anywhere. All right. So we are putting the small ones on the outside. And I like to lay my patterns out like this, you know. Just so I know what I'm doing. Why don't you have a thing? Okay. Oh, and we are also going to have, so I left a couple we're going to do together, of course. But I do have most of these prepared for expedience sake. Once you've seen a couple of wrap loops, you guys are going to be good. You are pros. All right. So what I usually like to do is I usually like to get all my, all my dangles ready. So I get them all in their pins. So let's grab a couple little head pins here. And these are little guys, but I like these little head pins for small crystals because you're not really wasting much. Okay, so you want to take your pliers. Now, guys, you can just go ahead and bend this wire right over the bead. I like to use my tools for this. This head pin's a little bent. Which is why, friends, I said that these are always come in handy because these will unbend any bend that you have. So what I like to do is sometimes these are really small head pins, so you just have to be careful with these guys. But I'll just grab it here with my toothy pliers and just do that. Don't do that, but I just kind of straighten that pin out a little bit. Okay. That's why I say it's always good to have these on hand. It's always a good investment. All right. Because it was a little crazy, right? And the head was like a little crooked. We don't want that. We want beautiful, luxurious jewelry. All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that, the jaws right up against that bead. And then what I like to do is I just kind of like to bend with my wrist. Let me pull it down so you can see. I kind of just like to do this and then bite down on those jaws. And when you're doing that, what you do is you create this angle where you're now going to go ahead and you're going to create a loop in that angle. So this is a simple loop. Now, if you were making a wrap loop, you would want to put your wire over top of the tool. That way you would create a little more space in here and then you could fill that space with wraps. This, really don't really have to cut much. I am going to cut a little bit because I do like to give myself about 1/4 of an inch for wraps. So you're going to go ahead and cut that. But if you don't need that 1/4 of an inch for your wraps, then guys, don't do that. Just whatever. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to go ahead in here. You want to make sure that those are flush and you don't have any wire sticking out. You want that wire flush in those jaws. And now I like to just make this little turning motion with my wrist. And then I'll come back and I'll grab this again flush with the jaws. And I'll just start doing my little wrist motions, making that into a loop. And then I'll come in here and break that neck. And then I will come in here and tidy that loop up. Sometimes I get a good loop. Sometimes it's questionable. This one wasn't bad. So this is what you should have. Always make sure these loops are closed, guys. Always make sure they're closed. Like, make sure that metal is right up against the other piece and that is closed. Okay, so we're going to do that now with this little bit bigger bead. And this one I probably won't have to cut. What is dust everywhere? This one I probably won't have to cut because this should be just about a perfect size for me to make this into a loop. So again, we're just causing that wire to bend, and I'm not going to cut that because that is about where I want it. Okay. And that feels like it was a much better loop. I'm going to come in here, just break that neck a little bit, And then I'm going to just take these pliers and kind of tidy that up, making sure that that is closed. You want no daylight in there, no daylight. I probably could have cut that wire a little bit. It's a little bit of a big loop, but that's okay. I don't hate it, but I am probably going to, well, that's all. Okay. Now this is my portion here. And now for the bottom portion, we are going to go ahead and take a little bit of a longer head pin, and we're going to stack. We're going to stack the big one first, my friend. We're going to stack the big one, and then we're going to put the little one on top of them. Now here, my friends, you can choose to make a simple loop, or you can choose to make a wrap loop. In my sample, I did make a simple loop because I kind of wanted it to just flow in with the other ones. But I think for this one, maybe I'll just make a wrap loop just in case we have any new friends here. And you guys, because I don't think I have wrap loops anywhere else in the design. So this way I can kind of walk you through the wrap loop, and then I'll just use it and it'll still be beautiful. So the difference with the wrap loop and the simple loop is you want to go ahead and you're still positioning your pliers the same way you would right up against that bead. But instead you're going to go ahead and you're going to, if you want more wraps, you would put it further up on your pliers. If you want it like just maybe 1 or 2 wraps, you would move it further down depending on, the width of your pliers. So I'm going to put it right there because that'll probably give me at least, I think, 3 wraps. So you're going to take your wire, excuse me, guys. You're going to take your wire and you're going to bend it over, right? You bend it over the plier. So we're not doing the motion. We're just taking the wire and bending that over. So then what happens is, sorry, that was loud. This creates a good amount of space here. So with that space, you can then fill in with wraps. So we're going to take our round nose pliers and we're going to just settle them in here in the crook, the little crook in there. And we're going to take this wire and we're going to wrap it over top of the mandrel. And what I like to do is I like to kind of leave my tool and the wire together, but I just spin my tool out of the way so I can continue my path over here. And then this way we can make a loop. And then I'll switch in my other hand because this is my wrap hand. This is my strong hand. And then you can go over here, right? And you can just fix this up. You can center this up on your tool. And you can take another tool if you want. You can take another set of pliers and grab this wire here, or you can wrap with your fingers. It really depends on your comfort level. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to fill this space in with wire, right? I like to get started with my tool, and then a lot of times I'll just come in here and just finger wrap the rest of it. Just, that's not the best, but that's what we'll do. Take it off your tool. I do like to leave it on my tool when I'm wrapping it. Sometimes your will get a little distorted, but you can go ahead and fix that. Then we're going to bring it back here. Oh, and see, it creates a mess sometimes. Now I can't see where I'm cutting. That's why sometimes I like to finger wrap. So, because when you use your tool, sometimes it will wrap around your tool and it will cause a mess. Okay. We don't want any messes. I'm going to cut that off. And now we're just going to come in here and fix this and make her look pretty. You always want to make sure you're tucking your wires in after you cut, but we're not smashing. We're not smashing. We're just gently with the pliers, okay? And that came out rather okay. I think that came out okay. So that's your wrap loop, which is, I have to recenter it a little bit. It got a little funky here at the loop. That will happen. Just put that on your tool and you can just go ahead and straighten that out. But that's what you'll have. Okay, so that's what we're going to put on the bottom. Not the best wrap loop I've ever made. It's a little wonky, but that's okay. I haven't made jewelry in a week. Have I mentioned that? I know it's like riding a bike. You don't forget, but sometimes you fall off. And that's okay. All right, so let's put our, you're going to need some jump rings. We're going to put our clusters together. Oh, here's my jump rings. And for your jump rings, you just want your standard, whatever pliers that you would normally use for jump rings. Guys, I usually use a flat nose plier and I use a bent chain nose plier. This is how I like to do my jump rings. So I will go ahead and open this jump ring. These are, I believe these are 6mm jump rings. They're either 5 or 6mm. Miss Debbie gave us this amazing bag full of different sizes, and I'm pretty sure these are a 5 or a 6. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to open our jump ring. Friends, you always want to open your jump ring side to side. You don't need to move both hands, just one hand, open it that way. Never ever pull them apart. And we're going to start by putting our drop on first. So our drop is going to go on first, and then we're going to come over here. And remember I said the bigger rondelles are going to be on the inside. So we're going to put him on the inside, and then the smaller rondelle is going to be on the outside. And then you want to take your other pliers, and you can just switch hands. Okay. And the bigger rondelle is going to go on the inside. Oh, I forgot to bring over a piece of wire to show you what I do, guys. My little trick. I'll probably have to go get a piece of wire. I'm sure Mr. Steve can edit my traveling out. So yeah, so then you're going to go ahead and you're going to close this back up just like you opened it, just one side, and you just kind of rock back and forth until you feel that is in there. And I like to do this. And sometimes if it feels like it's not quite together, I'll just take these little tiny pliers and just give that a little tap tap and a little like that. And it's you know, it causes that seam to just close. All right, so let me just go and grab a piece of wire real quick. Okay, my friends, we're back. I'm so sorry about that. So this is kind of an old piece of wire I just found. But guys, just grab a piece of wire. Oh, you can even use an eye pin too. I could have just used my eye pin. But this is my little trick. So I'll grab this piece of wire and I'll put it through like this. And then I'll put it down on my surface. Because with the cluster, you kind of want balance. So you need the same amount of beads on either side. So this way you have a balance, and then it's easier because if you let it go, it's going to be hard to find the last one and it's going to be a whole mess. So this way this kind of holds your place, right? We want to hold our place. That's what we want to do. All right. So we're going to do our next tier. Again, we're just opening and closing these jump rings side to side. Okay. Just one tool. We're going to go ahead and carefully pick this wire up. And then I will take this jump ring and I will put this through the wire. And when I see that it is connected, I will pull that wire out. And now my place is safe, right? So we're going to go ahead and we are going to put the bigger one on the inside and the smaller one on the outside. That's our fluffy tassel. Switching hands, right? Putting the bigger one on the inside and the smaller one on the outside. I do want to show you something too after I get done this one, so you guys aren't too confused. Again, closing that jump ring side to side. That one feels great. I didn't have to mess with it. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. We're going to put our wire in to save our place. Now I do want to show you guys on this. I did connect some of these already. Again, the bigger ones on the inside, one big one on the inside, and one of the smaller ones on the outside. Because I wanted our tassel to kind of start at the top, right? I wanted it nice and fluffy. And so I kind of wanted to start at the component. So basically we're just going to do, when we get to there, we're just going to split this apart. And then that's where we're going to put that's where we're going to connect our jump ring that's going to bring all this together. I just wanted to show you guys that this was already done, and that's how I done that. How I did that. I just connected I didn't use any jump rings, okay? I just connected the eye pins directly to the component. All right, so we're going to do our last little cluster here, and then we're going to connect this to the bottom portion of what I thought kind of looked like a lantern, like, you know, those fancy, like, Oriental, like, paper type lanterns. And maybe that's why I got the whole Oriental Express inspiration, because this portion reminds me of like an Oriental style lantern. So yeah. So again, we're going to pick up our wire, right? We're going to go ahead and we're going to connect. Where are you? We're going to connect this jump ring. And when we feel that jump ring is connected, we can go ahead and pull our wire out. All right, so we're going to load in our bigger one and then our smaller one. And this one is going to be connected to the component. So we're going to have to separate those beads, like I said, and then we will connect this. All right, there's the bigger one and there's the smaller one. Now this part's a little tricky, not too tricky, but now we have to find on here, right? We have to separate these out. which is why I like to do this part first, because this is a lot easier than putting, I think, than putting the tassel on and then doing this. But guys, you can certainly do it your preference, just as long as we're making sure, as I say, this is easier this way. Okay. We're making sure we're separating those, and we're making sure this jump ring is going right in the middle there. Don't drop it. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to close this jump ring side to side, making very carefully sure that that is closed. And I'm actually going to bring it, sometimes I like to bring in my smaller pliers because I can seem to get them in there better to make sure that this is closed. Okay, because sometimes also, guys, when you're working with a darker metal color, like a gunmetal or a black, it's a little bit harder to see if the jump rings are closed. So here we go. Here's the bottom portion. So here's our nice fluffy tassel. Okay, it's our nice fluffy tassel. I'll lay that down. And I'll be honest, I don't love, let me see. I don't know if I loved that this was a wrap loop, because to me it does kind of stick out a little more. And I don't know if I love that. I don't know if I love that, but we are trying, right? We're trying different things. This is a little bit different how I put it in the sample. And so now I can see I like it better the other way. So I'll just change that, and that's fine. All right. So now we get to connect these two pieces together. And how we're going to do that is first we are going to get our eye pins, and we're going to connect our eye pins. Ooh, these are, that one looks a little different. Let's put him to the side. He was thick. All right. So we're going to open these up, and we're just going to connect our eye pins directly to our component. Okay. Making sure that they are closed, right? Because you don't want any kind of sneakage. Okay. And guys, you can make your own eye pins. You can do whatever it is that you want. You can certainly do that. Okay, we're just going to open this one. Again, just that motion up to open. You never want to pull these apart open. Okay. Closing that, making sure that it's nice and closed. Okay. And we're going to do this one more. And it's going to look funny, like he's got little arms. And that's what I kind of called them when I was making this. I was like, oh, his little armies. That's so cute. All right, he's got 3 arms. So we're going to put the 3rd arm on. Okay. And then you should have this little weird looking guy that's got arms and stuff. Okay. That's going to be the top portion of our pendant. Now you can do this. This is how I'm going to do it, but you can do this in different ways. So you can you can put your beads on, and of course make your loop and then connect it as you go. Or you can do what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do my beads, and I'm going to make my loops, and I'm going to do all 3, and then I'm going to connect it to my piece. I'm not going to connect it as I go, because I just feel that this way is a little bit easier. All right, so we're just going to make another wrapped loop here. And I like to go opposite the side of the cut. So this side is cut here. So I'm going to go opposite. So this way your cut is kind of, your cut at the top and your cut on the bottom is kind of like in a figure 8. Because I think that just gives a little bit more integrity to the metal. I don't like to have my cuts on the same side. I don't know if that really matters, but it's how I do. Okay, so now again, we're just going to be making a simple loop. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to, with our wrist, and just bite down. Again, you can push the wire right over the bead if your head pins or your eye pins are thin enough. These are 20 gauge, so these are a little bit thicker, and they are stainless steel. So I can't really push them over the bead. And these are really small beads, and I would be afraid to crack the bead, guys. So I do recommend the tool when you're using smaller beads. This way you won't crack them. If you had a bigger bead here, you could just, but. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut. Again, I like a little bit, 1/4 of an inch, but we're going to make sure we don't make these too small. Maybe go over just a tiny bit what you would normally cut. Because it will make it easier for you to connect this pendant, because this pendant can be a little tricky to connect. So we're going to take, I switch between 2 different round nose pliers, but I think I'm going to use these. I really like these a lot because they're thinner at the bottom, so you can make really little loops. which I love. I love having that option. The other ones are good too, but I feel like these have a little bit more of a mandrel, so I kind of have more options. Okay, we're going to break that neck, and then we're going to come in here, and we're going to fix this guy, making sure he's closed, right? Making sure it's straight. Everything is looking good. Everything is looking good. And now, like I said, if you want, you can go ahead and start connecting, but I like to get all of my arms completed before I start the connection process. That's just how I do. That's how my brain works, you know. But sometimes I say something's easier and then I do it this way and then I struggle with it and then I feel silly. Because I'm like, I just told you guys this was easier. All right, so where's the cut side? All right, so we are going to go ahead. And again, we are going to make our simple loop. So we're going to take our tool. And we are making sure our loops are facing the same direction, guys. That's super important. Right? They have to face the same exact direction. Biting down. We're going to go ahead and cut. Okay. We're going to go ahead and make our loop. Again, making sure that is flush. And then just doing our little circular motions. We'll come in here, break this neck. I know that sounds horrible. I did not make up that term. I'm not a violent person. I promise you. I promise. That's the only time I ever break necks is when I make jewelry. It's the only time, I promise. Okay, and we are going to make our third arm. Yes, our third arm, possibly. Okay, just loading those beads on. Simple, simple. And like I said, guys, this really isn't hard to do. It's just, it can be a little finicky. It can be a little finicky. But if you have patience, you shouldn't have a problem. If you don't have patience, you probably shouldn't still have a problem. It's not that finicky. It's just a little finicky. Totally doable. Might have cut that one just a little too much. Little too generous on that cut. Sometimes I get a little too carried away. Okay. All right. Just going to go in here, break the neck, and then bring our pliers in and make sure all of this business is closed. Okay. Now, you also want to try to keep these consistent because they are going to be connecting to a component. And so let me lay it down on the mat so you can see what that looks like. Okay. So we have all in there pretty consistent. Everybody, the one in the middle looks like a little bit longer, maybe. But I think overall, they're pretty consistent. Right? It's okay. It's all right. But if you do see one that's a little too long and you think it's going to be disruptive, what you can do is you can come in here with your cutters. And what I like to do is I will actually open this loop up a little bit. Okay. It's going to open up just a little bit so you can get your cutters in here and just cut a little piece, right? Just trim a little piece. Don't trim too much because you don't want it to get too small, right? And then just kind of re-roll it. Sorry, that was loud. I have to keep remembering to put my tools on the mat. Okay. So now this should be a little bit more even. See how that middle guy? They're all pretty good now, right? So if you do have that issue, if you run into that issue and one of them is a little too long, just go in. You can just shave a little bit off there and he'll be fine. All right, so now comes the fun part. This is where we connect. I'm going to keep these pliers out because these are nice and thin and they can really do the job. They get in there. Wow, Kyle, just throw it across the desk. I don't even know. This is like an off-brand of pliers. Like my pliers are a mismatch. I think the only plier, well, my cutters are Beadalon, but I have like one Zoron plier, I have like one Beadalon plier. I don't know. This came somewhere. This is actually part of the first toolkit that I ever got for jewelry making. That guy and this guy. Anyway, that's enough history lesson. All right. So we are going to be connecting these. Now, guys, listen. If you don't want to go through this finicky part, yes, you can use little jump rings. Don't feel like you have to do this way. If you want to use jump rings, go ahead. Nobody's going to shame you. Miss Debbie put a whole mess of different sizes in here, and there's little guys in there. So if you want to use jump rings, please feel free to use jump rings. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this little portion and we're going to open this arm up. Okay, this is the front of our component. So making sure we're connecting the front side of this component. That's very important. So we're going to go ahead and it's going to be, this is his corresponding loop, right? You got to find his mate on the other side. And then once you hook them together, you just go ahead and you're going to close this eye pin up, right? And then I will show you. And then this is what you will have, right? So now we know we're on the same side, because that's the hardest part, is just making sure that everything is going to be on the right side. So now we're going to go ahead and it gets easier after the first one, because now everybody is aligned and we know where they go. So we're going to open this one. And then we're going to find that middle loop that it corresponds to. His buddy, his mate from the other side. Guys, just make sure your beads aren't coming out of the opening there. And this is like where I said it gets a little finicky. Putting these together, it does get a little finicky, especially when this bead, sir, can you please, thank you, just cooperate. I had it, just cooperate. I promise you it's really not that hard. It's just because, there we go, my fingers kept sliding. Perfect. Okay, closing that. Like I said, it's mildly irritating, but no, it's not that bad. Okay, and then this is what we have. And you can continue if you want, and I do suggest this, that you put your work down in between each one. So this way you're making sure it's sitting nice. Because if maybe you twisted it up by accident and you don't realize it until you finish it all, and then you realize it, then you got to take things apart. So I do suggest laying it down and making sure everything is where it's supposed to be before you continue. So this is our last arm. This is probably the easiest one to connect. Well, probably the first one was the easiest one to connect. It's really that middle one that's finicky. But once you get him in place, the last one just is like, okay, I surrender. I'm going to do it. And then this is what you have. And see what I'm saying? It just kind of reminded me of like an old style Oriental type lantern. I don't know. That's the vibes I was getting. Or even a bird cage. Like, you know, I don't know. I'm weird that way. But that's it, guys. This was the hard part of this whole project, right? So now we're going to take our second part of our chain, which is our longer piece, and you're just going to connect it right through this jump ring that I've pre-put on the top, that you will put on the top. Or if you want to make your own bail, you certainly can. You can do whatever you want. You can be that creative. And I think it would look beautiful. You could do like a bail with maybe a little bead or something, and then connect it to that. For sure. All right. So we are just going to do this process like we did before with the other one. So we're going to take our clamshell. We're going to go ahead and maybe I'm just going to try to speed myself up a little bit through this process, because you guys did see me do this already. I might not be able to speed it up if my fingers aren't cooperating. Because go in there, my friend. What is the problem? Listen, if your most challenging thing is getting stuff to go on to other stuff, then you're doing good. You're doing good. All right, we're going to put one of these little crumpets on there. Not that one. That one said no, no, no. Okay. That one is also fighting me, because these are very tiny. These are very tiny. Okay. Where are the crimping pliers, Kyle? Where did they go? They're blue. Okay. Sometimes I just tell myself what color they are, and I look for the color. All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to position. We're going to find this guy and put him in where he goes. In this macaroni slot. Okay. Are we in the We are in the macaroni slot. Okay. Pulling this chain up. We're pulling the chain up, not the bead. We're going to go ahead and crimp that. Pull it to its side. Crimp down again. This one has barely any chain. And you do want to do a little test, guys. Make sure that crimp is secure before you continue. Right? So we're going to go ahead. We're going to close this. do just a little pull test, and that's nice and secure. Just to be sure, you want to make sure that these are nice and secure. Oh no, I hope I have another clamshell tip, because I don't have one. I don't know why I only pulled 3 out. Interesting. Give me 1 second. Oh no, never mind. Nope, it's here. I got it. I had them next to me the whole time. It's all good. It's all good. There we go. Oh, I had crimps in there too. See that? I was prepared. I didn't give myself enough credit. I just forgot that I put it there. All right. So putting our guy on butt first, so he can cuppeth and huggeth the crimpeth. Okay. Just go in, my friend. You're making me look foolish now. Okay. And now for the fun part. El crimpe. El crimpo. My friend is not cooperating today. You are just not wanting to play. That's okay. I respect it. Okay. Putting that in the macaroni portion. Right? Making sure that's in there. Gotta make sure it's in there. Can't crimp it if it's not in there. That generally won't work. Okay. Are you in there? What is happening? Okay, there we go. All right. Pulling that chain up. Guys, when you go to pull the chain up and if it's not pulling up, that means your crimp is not stationed properly in the macaroni. Okay, we're just going to close that with our fingers, do a little pull test. Perfect. All right, now, this part can also be confusing because this is magnetic and it's going to want to stick to everything. But you have to be the boss of it because you can't, you know. I'm sorry, I'm just moving some stuff out of the way. You have to be the boss of this portion, right? So this is obviously the front of our necklace, right? So I don't know why, but when I like to do the back. I don't know why. I don't know if it really matters. We are going to use some more of these jump rings. Okay, and this is going to be the top portion of our necklace. This doesn't matter what side it's on. All right, so what I do like to do is I will take this little guy here and I will see how he is. See, it's like, okay. Then you open it. It opens one of these ends. Okay, so it opens like this. So what I like to do, because I will sometimes get confused, is I like to put it how it opens next to each other. So I know for sure that you want to connect your smaller portion, which is your bottom portion. This is your shorter portion. We're going to connect it to these here. We're going to connect it to the, am I on screen? Yeah. We're going to connect it to these bottom loops, right? And then the bigger portion, which is our lantern portion, we are going to be connecting to the top. And then the middle ones, we're not going to connect anything. So I kind of like to lay that out ahead of, like, before I do it. So this way my brain knows what we're doing. We're on the same track. Okay. We're on the path. So we're just going to go ahead and you're going to have to pick them up, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our jump rings like we do, open and close one side, right? We are connecting, this is the bottom portion, which was our gemstone portion. We are connecting that to this bottom portion here. Okay. And you can use smaller jump rings if you want. I'm just going with the same size. Okay. Making sure that is nice and closed. And it is. You don't want any daylight in there. Okay. And I'm going to lay this component back down the way that, you know, it is. And then I'm just going to kind of bring this out so I know it's not bunched up anywhere. You know, it's going to hang the way it's supposed to hang. I always, when I do chain necklaces, I like to lay it out a little bit before I connect it. Just to make sure there's no, you know, kinks in anything and everything is behaving itself. Because again, like, you know, I don't like to do things and then have to turn around and do them again because they weren't done right the first time. So this way, if you lay all this out, you kind of cut that out, you know. I mean, I still make mistakes, don't get me wrong. Okay, so that jump ring just goes right through those little loops at the top. Excuse that cat hair. And then again, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to connect it to this bottom portion. So now we have our bottom necklace layer. It's in there. It's on there. There it is. Side to side with the jump ring, right? Making sure we have no daylight in there. And then we're just going to lay this back down like we found it. So this way, this is laying nice, right? So now we're going to do our bottom portion. Let me move this up a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see. Maybe I can. There we go. So I like to just go ahead and I will put this around the outside because we want that to hang nice. Now let's go ahead and do our next jump ring. Just make sure you're laying everything out. That's all. That's all. Okay. Because when doing multiple strands, it's not hard to get lost in what you're doing, you know? Okay. This is going to go on those 2 loops. Make sure both of those loops are on that jump ring. Because sometimes, if this is not closed all the way, it will only one loop will go on there. And then that will not be. Make sure both of those. Okay. We're going to take, I got it. I caught it. We're going to take it up here and connect it to the top portion. And this is the magnetic portion of the clasp. So this is the scallywag. See how that just jumped because it's magnetic. It's going to do that. Don't stress. Don't stress. You're bigger than him. You can muscle him out of the way. He thinks he's big and bad, but trust me, my friend. You got this. All right. Making sure that is nice and closed. Fantastic. We're going to lay this back up how we had it, right? And like I said, that's the magnetic portion, so that's going to be a little squirrely. And now, after I dropped it, but it didn't come off because, guys, it won't come off because that jump ring will not fit over that clamshell. So you don't have to worry about that. But I do just want to lay it out nice again. So then I can come over and just lay this out there. Oh my God, it did it again. It's because my surface isn't big enough. I'm trying to be all nice about it. Okay, there we go. It's because it's heavy. It's all the clustering. It's all the clustering has weighted it down. Okay. So guys, if you get on a boat and you capsize and you're wearing this necklace, just maybe take it off because I don't want y'all to sink to the bottom. I'm just kidding. It's not really that heavy. It's not really that heavy. It's just that, you know, there's nothing else here to hold it up. We just have chain. Which is another thing, guys. This is a very lightweight necklace. So this is, if you guys are kind of sensitive to heavier necklaces, this is a great one because it is very lightweight. All right, connecting that to the top. Oh, sorry. And then we are going to go ahead and close this guy. And my friends, my beautiful friends and family. That's it. We are done. I did not make earrings for this because I ran out of beads. But if you have leftover beads, you guys can make some earrings, right? And see how we laid it out like this. So this portion is this side and this side like so. It's going to stick because it's magnetic. And it just goes down here. And there you go. There you have it. And I will try to lay this out. It's going to be difficult to lay out. And see, it's because it's magnetized to itself now. It's sticking to itself. And that's the problem with this necklace. It's not really a problem, but now it's all, there we go. I have figured it out. And there you go, my friends. Trust me, it'll lay nice. And that's the back. It'll lay nice. It's just that the magnets are kind of keeping it weird. Okay, my friends. There we have it. There, I'm going to stop playing with it now, but there it is, basically. That's what you got. Double-stranded. It looks beautiful on. It looks much prettier on than it does on the table. And there is your beautiful cluster lantern. Oh, look at it. Look how beautiful that is. Oh, I love it. Okay, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. And I look forward to hanging out with you guys again soon. All right, my friends. Bye.